we're just going to finish up with Gila. We got cut off in our last 30 seconds, but Gila, when you come back on, she was just describing orthorexia. So I just want her to like finish up with just discussing what orthorexia was. But basically, it's an obsession with eating healthfully and wellness. But I'm gonna finish up here. I'm just waiting for Gila to join.
Hi.
About orthorexia is, and then we're gonna finish up. But
Okay.
I'm saving this again. I'm saving our first half to my page, and then we'll save it to YouTube also.
Okay, perfect. Also, I just want to tell you that when I was just on Project Proactive's live, they said it was an hour and a half. So I don't know what happened, but okay. Um,
Oh, you
so,
probably did two of them back to back.
oh, maybe. I don't know. I'm really bad at this. So orthorexia. So yeah, that is a clinical term. I don't think it's on the DSM-5 as of yet.
Mm-mm.
Going to be there soon. That's where it's a diagnosis where you're obsessively obsessed with only eating healthy. So like you're isolated, you won't go out to restaurants, you'll interrogate the waiter. You're thinking about food 80% of the day. Your whole life revolves around your Costco run and your wellness food and your workout plan. That's not really living. That's really
Yeah.
not.
And something that's interesting also that people should think about and consider is a lot of like food sensitivities that people have that they think like they can't eat gluten or they can't have dairy or whatever. There are people, yes, who cannot have those things and do have trouble digesting them. But we know based on, again, on science and research, a lot of like people's food sensitivities come from, it's more like a somatic thing. It's more that they've convinced themselves that they cannot digest certain foods. And again, we know the mind is so powerful in our absorption of nutrients and in our digestion of food. Like you might be perpetuating a lot of your food sensitivities and you might be convincing yourself you can't have certain things. So by restricting them, you're making it harder for your body to learn how to deal with those foods. Um, so I would say if you're someone who has a lot of trouble with like a lot of food and you think that you can't eat anything, and so you're like on this kick of like, oh, I'm going to only eat gluten free and this free and that thing and whatever it is, I would look at that as there could be some orthorexia in there. And again, you might be perpetuating a lot of your health issues with certain foods. Um, and I've heard stories of this, of people who like thought that they were allergic to things and couldn't eat things. And at the end of the day, like it was just a matter of having super dysfunctional thoughts and a dysfunctional relationship with food where they were really restricting and cutting out foods from their diet and harming themselves, you know. And we know, we see there's lower rates of peanut allergies in countries where, you know, they're giving their kids peanuts like from the minute they're born, right? Because there's an exposure to it. So like
Yep.
their bodies are able to handle it. So we have to give ourselves exposure to all these foods also so that our bodies learn how to handle it. Um, so that would be something also that kind of ties into that orthorexia, like cutting out food is never a good thing. Keto, like unless you have like epilepsy, like you should not be on a ketogenic diet. Like that
Right.
is dangerous for you.
Mhm.
You know, but it's all the trend now. Celery juice, like guys, I hate to break it to you, like very little to like no health benefits for that. Like, you know, juicing celery actually takes away a lot of the nutrients from it. So you should just eat a stalk of celery, you know. But again, we see this is actually something important that I do want to bring up before we finish. A lot of people's health information comes from influencers.
Instagram, right?
Yeah, influencers, Instagram, people who are not educated in the science of nutrition, who do not know about these things. So you're seeing your favorite influencer on, you know, keto or celery juice or on X diet. Like I'm not going to drop any names, but there's a lot of those big diets out there that everybody's on with these waffles or this bar, whatever it is. And you're taking what they say as like Torah Sinai, like this is God, you know, God's word, and like they know about nutrition and you're kind of like hopping on the train to like go on whatever they're going on because you think that you're going to look like them if you eat the way that they do. And a lot of these things are either not nutritionally beneficial for you, like they're not doing anything for you, or they're harmful. You know, there's some diets out there that like they're just harmful. If any diet is telling you that in order to like lose weight and like be healthy, you need to buy all of their products, their food products that are marketed with their branding on it. that's not something that's healthy. It's not teaching you to eat real food and take care of your health. It's teaching you to buy their products and give them money.
Mm-hmm.
Something to be aware of.
Right.
So just because your friend is all up on Instagram and she lost all this weight and she's on this wonderful program, that doesn't mean that that is something that is good for you. And that's something that, again, that's why I think it's so important to read books, to follow dietitians who are educated in the science of health and nutrition and learn from them. Don't learn from, X, Y, and Z Instagrammer. Like they don't know what they're talking about. They're just doing whatever's being fed to them. And I think we assume that like they just know what they're doing and they don't. And again, like I see a lot of big influencers doing this keto diet and it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's important. Know where you're getting your information from. Your favorite influencer is not someone to be taking diet advice from, or health advice. Just not.
Right. And also, like, I have a friend who actually told me that their husband went on Optavia and they ended up, like, in the hospital with, like, a stomach obstruction or something, like, really crazy. Like, really seriously crazy. I honestly, like, I don't want to. I really what I want to say is like I'm holding space for even you, Rachel, that said like you feel so pain that you imparted diet culture into so many people's lives. It's normal. It's 90% of the world is on a diet and is steeped in diet culture, and it's so sad and it's so unfortunate. But thankfully, we have voices like you and Evelyn and Tiffany Rowe and people who are really standing up for the cause and making a difference. And it's really deep work. It's very deep work. Like when I work with clients one-on-one, we go far back into their childhood and we talk about, were you not accepted because you were overweight? Was your mom shamed for her weight, let's say? And it changes your whole life. It changes your whole perspective. It takes away those judgments from about other people. We learn to have self-compassion, empathy. People in larger bodies, it's not their fault. And a lot of times it's not their fault. Like there are some things that could influence your weight that actually have a lot to do with dieting. Like, are you engaging in Last Supper eating a lot? Like what you're describing, like the diet starts tomorrow, so then you binge. And people tell me they do that every Saturday night. So they're going on a massive food binge once a week. If you're feeling deprived, you might end up binging. If you're continually lowering your caloric intake, then your metabolism will slow. And it sounds like that's what happened to you, Rachel, when you first got married, that you gained weight so quickly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of research out there. There's really great accounts to follow, and I hope that this just like gave you guys a taste of what's out there.
Yeah. And just important to remember also that like when you start on the intuitive eating journey, like it's not easy. This
No.
is the most difficult work I've like ever done on myself. And I like work on myself a lot. Like this is so hard on so many levels. And every time I think I'm like in a great space, like I learn that there's something else for me to be working on, that I learned some kind of new dysfunctional thinking in terms of like eating or exercise or whatever it is. Like there's always something coming up. So it's not like so glamorous and it's not so easy. And different people will experience different things, but like it's worth it because I
Yeah.
said the other day when I met with Ruchama from D-Rama, she has that clothing line for all sizes. It's a size inclusive clothing line. And I was saying for me, like when I started on the with intuitive eating, like I gained weight and my body did change, and that was really hard for me. And I had to really look at my own fear of like fat. Like, yeah, I don't mind. I was learning, yeah, other people can be in big bodies and like I'm fine with that and I'm not judging them anymore. But like I had this intense fear of gaining weight that I
Mm-hmm.
had to look at. But I gained weight like physically, yes, and my body did change. But then I felt so much lighter because I wasn't obsessing about it anymore. And I wasn't obsessing about food. And it was just this massive like weight lifted off of me where I'm not always thinking about that anymore. And like I don't care. And like I can learn to like respect my body and honor it and like care for it and just not be mean to myself anymore. And that doesn't mean that I don't have days where I'm just like where I don't feel good about myself. Like I said earlier, I do
Mm-hmm.
what to do in those moments. I'm not like, okay, I'm going to skip breakfast today, or I'm
Right.
going to be so good and not eat whatever. No, I know what I need today. Like, I'm not feeling so great. So I'm going to focus on gratitude. I'm going to get myself to the gym and I'm going to show myself that I can do more push-ups than I could do last week. I'm getting stronger. Or I'm just going to move in a way that like just makes me feel grateful that I have the ability to be moving. I'm going to go hug my kids. I'm going to do something just to like kind of believe and make myself feel that like what I'm feeling right now is it's a fleeting moment in time and it'll go away, you know? And that's usually how it is. Like we know your body image can change from, you know, 1 hour to the next. Like at 8 o'clock, you could be feeling disgusting. By 9 o'clock, you feel great, you know? So
Yeah.
it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
So, so
That's a
yeah.
part of like, so I just did a talk on self-care and I said that letting yourself feel emotions, no matter how painful they are, is like a really powerful, it's something that I learned through like my own therapist and people who I follow, like emotions. Maybe we are just like, you know, taught from a young age, like, oh, you're sad, let me give you an ice cream. Like, you're allowed to feel sad. Like, that is, you're supposed to, like, you don't have to wallow in pain and be depressed. But, like, sometimes things are really sad. Sometimes we don't have answers. And, like, that really, 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 really hurts. And, like, sometimes we do cope with our emotions by using food. And I try to help my clients to have other coping mechanisms because at the end of the day, then you'll have the food problem and the other problem. So like engaging in emotional eating is sometimes okay, but if it's really like your only coping tool, then I hope you'll learn other coping tools because it's not gonna give you if that's what your learned behavior is, that makes perfect sense. Like I'm really gonna validate that. But like now at this time in your life, like you could really learn other coping skills and like there's so many other ways to soothe yourself and feel better. And it's so powerful because it's not just about the food and it's like really never about the food. It's like so much deeper than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this was great, Gila. Thank
That's so
you.
thank you. I hope everybody learned something and reach out to Rachel or me if you have any other questions.
Yeah. Definitely follow Gila, and she has this great course that I think everyone should take and learn from. And follow other dietitians, Gila, and we dropped some names before, Christy.
Evelyn Tribole, yeah, Christy Harrison, Rachel Goodman, Hey
Yeah.
Tiffany Pro, so many good accounts.
Yeah. And start there. And again, it's a process. Like I think I also sometimes get questions like from people like, if I eat intuitively, will I lose weight? And I'm always like, intuitive eating is not a diet.
Right. It's not about weight loss.
Not about weight loss. Like, and if that's your goal, again, you know, I totally understand it because I thought going into it also, like, maybe that's just what I need to do. Like, just listen to my body and I'll go back to that weight when I was 20 years old. I had to learn, like, that's not where my body needs to be 3 kids later and, you know, almost 20 years later. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my body needs to be in a different space, shape, weight, whatever it is. And that's not a bad thing. And I need to just like respect it and honor it and stop trying to like push it back to a place where it doesn't want to be. It's going to keep coming back. It's going to keep coming, you know, it doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I just want to say this also, like I'll admit that when I started doing intuitive eating, I definitely gained weight, and I also actually started going to the gym at the same time, and I go like 3 to 4 times a week, and I'm still, I don't know, at a higher weight, and like I'm admitting this on Instagram, like I'm not even like really embarrassed, like I can't even believe it, like there are definitely days where I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But that's my initial reaction, and I learned to cope with that and like even like love myself and be happy. Like I'm so happy. Like I respect this body. I had 3 healthy children. Like I had a C-section. I, went through serious trauma. Like I talk about this a lot on Instagram. My mom died 3 days later. I had my baby, C-section. That's real trauma. Your body's holding on to that. If you gain weight because of it, like it's okay. Like seriously, like
yeah,
and I said this on the live the other night about my friend who was diagnosed with cancer like a few weeks after her wedding, and she lost a lot of weight because she had cancer, and people said to her like, "How'd you do it?" And she's like when she finally got fed up enough, she's like, "I have cancer," and they're like, "Wow, I wish I had cancer." Like, hello, guys,
right. But
crazy.
so twisted. Like, again, that goes back to like that doctor's appointment. Like, why do we think that way? Why are we like that? You know, why when there's a fast day are people like, I wish I was anorexic so that I could fast and not have a problem. Like,
You don't wish that. It's
you
horrible.
don't want that. It's a horrible thing. You don't want to have cancer just so you can be skinny. You don't want the doctor pulling you aside and asking you why you're so frail and you look unhealthy. You know, like we really need to like for that's like a huge, eye-opening, like, oh my God moment. Like this is how far we've sunk, you know? So
Yeah.
again, I totally understand it because I was there. And sometimes I go back to that thinking because I'm trying to undo so many years of that thinking. It's only been a year and a bit. Like, so of course that's ingrained in me, but I've come very far. I'm still on the journey, and I empathize for sure. And when people tell me they're on diets, I'm not angry at them. I totally understand it. I feel disappointed for them because, I know what that's like, and I know the disappointment that comes with being on a diet and then having it not work and going back to where you were. And I have a friend who's on a diet now, and he says, he's like, I know, like, once I get to this goal of what I want to be this size for, like, I'm going back to where I was.
Right.
And I'm so sad. Like, he's already setting himself up to, like, go back,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just upsetting. And but again, once upon a time, I was this person that was like, oh, you lost weight because he's been on 100 diets. You look great. You keep going, and like now I'm just like, I just want you to be happy and healthy, whatever that means. This is making you feel happy now. Great. I'm hoping he'll see the light and not do this anymore. But like, I just want him to be happy and healthy, and I don't want to judge, and I don't, because I was there once. I also believe that dieting worked,
Yeah.
Thank God I don't anymore. So, and yeah, someone said here, you can't look at a person and know if they have an eating disorder. There's no look. Yeah, you can be in a bigger body and have anorexia or bulimia.
Mm-hmm.
No, like there's such a thing as a bigger body that has an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And Sugar Rose actually is a great account to follow. She talks about that a lot also.
Yeah.
Okay, so follow Gila, check out her course, look at her blog posts for Project Proactive. They're amazing.
Thanks.
Hire her to come speak.
Thank you.
And I'll save this. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to message myself or Gila, and we will continue this discussion, both of us. This is not something we're quiet about.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.